Hi, my name is Katherine Ashmore and welcome to the Unblur podcast. Today, I'm joined by Christopher Carter, serial entrepreneur and technologist who's been building companies since the 1980s. He is chairman and CEO of Ashmore, and he has succeeded, failed, lost a company and started again more than once. This is an honest conversation about what entrepreneurship really asks of you, which is a bit different from the version you see on social media. We talk about the 18-hour days, the year that makes or breaks most people, and what Chris learned when one customer went from being 80% of his revenue to being gone in a fortnight. We also get into AI, what it genuinely changes, what it doesn't, and a thing Chris says no founder should ever hand over to a machine. Here goes. Hi, Chris. Lovely to see you. We've had a chance to connect before, but for those listening who don't know you yet, could you tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi, everyone. Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'll start there, and a technologist. I started my life as a technology kid in 1984. And yes, for some of those out there were the 1980s, and they were glorious years. We created the first computers, and my life just evolved from there. I've always been fascinated with tinkering. There's an old Disney movie about, I've been a tinkerer, like Iron Man, he's a tinkerer. I've always been that way, and I've simply loved tinkering around with technology and entrepreneurship. I've started so many different companies. I have failed at some of those companies, and what I am today is a man who sits in front and is talking to all of you, who has succeeded, failed, loved, lost, and grown for 57 years. And I think everybody can take heart with where my journey started to where I am today, and that there's an option to be your best and to grow into your best if you truly try to do those, be your best.
Yeah. Just wonderful. Thanks for that, Chris. And what strikes me about your journey is how much you've evolved over the years, different industries, different continents, different chapters. And I think this area is a really good place to begin today's conversation, because that ability to adapt and evolve is exactly what the current landscape, I think, is asking of entrepreneurs now. And you said something when we spoke before. You said when you start a company, you don't stop working for other people. You start working for your staff, your customers, and your partners. Can we begin there? What do people misunderstand about entrepreneurship before they're actually one themselves?
Oh, that's a great question, because it resonates to the point where I remember one of my brothers going, "Oh, now you're going to become some rich guy. Oh, just great." I thought, if you only knew, I work 18, 20-hour days. I make sure, in the beginning of my career, I made sure that my staff was getting their paychecks. I would go without paychecks. I would go and make sure that the staff had 401k and other activities. It's all these things that come up that nobody thinks about because they're working for somebody.
Yeah.
And the person that you're working for, they're the one that truly is doing those things that on a day-to-day basis, nobody knows is going on behind the scenes. Nobody knows what's going on up here. Nobody knows what's going on in here. Nobody knows what's going on with finance and marketing and sales. And because we hide that, we don't need them to see the pain and agony that happens. And yesterday, unfortunately, we had to put our oldest puppy dog down of 13 years. But you know what? I still worked. I was working in the morning. I was working in the afternoon. After it happened, I kept my emotions to myself. They don't need to care, because you know what? That's my personal things. And I don't put that onto them to make them feel whatever way. It's you as an entrepreneur are always trying to do better for them, your companies, staff, your employees, your partners, and your customers.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sorry to hear about your dog as well. It's often this idea that entrepreneurship means more freedom, going back to what you were saying, more freedom, more control, more choice. And there's that whole social media image, isn't there? Where you see this person looking glamorous with a laptop on the beach, having that sort of lifestyle. But the reality is, when do you think that idea actually meets reality for most people?
Well, first of all, it's horrible to work on a beach. You've got sand getting into your laptop. There's no way I want sand in my MacBook. That's a $2,000 device. I don't want that thing dying because of sand. So please don't do that as an entrepreneur thinking,
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian does it. Oh, I got to do it. That doesn't work. And the sun in your laptop is horrible. So don't do that either. It's interesting because, and I'm going to reference my younger brother again. Oh, you're going to be a millionaire. You're going to do this. You don't have to do it. And I think when my family goes on vacation, my laptop, my cell phone comes with me because
Yeah.
I'm the one that will sit at the table somewhere. I might be underneath an umbrella out on the beach watching them have fun, especially when they were younger. But nowadays, it's just I'm buried in my work and I'm taking care of. Now, I will step away for an hour or half an hour and I'll jump in an ocean when we go to Hawaii or whatever the case may be. And those things are great. Or a benefit I have as a speaker as well is I travel around the globe to speak for my books and the companies and clients. I bring them with. And so I want them to enjoy that activity and those pieces. And that's another piece. So this Instagram world we live in, showing the bits and pieces, what I don't like is people only showing the good.
Yeah.
There are good and bad. As a father, my daughters are now 26 and 23, and we would have to go to Orlando, Florida every single year for the largest trade show of the year. Now, my wife and mother-in-law would go off and they'd go to Disney and stuff while I worked at the trade show, and that's fine. But there's also a piece of me that was, I would have loved to have taken them on Space Mountain, or I would have loved to have done this. And entrepreneurship is giving of yourself and giving to others to allow that company to succeed and for those individuals to enjoy themselves. And sometimes you have to take it in the backside and sacrifice.
Yeah, I think it takes a certain type to be an entrepreneur, doesn't it? And I think that mindset is generally not for everyone. And I'm not saying this to put people off, but I think I'm in agreement with you. I think there's a general disservice to people if you only see or hear of the successes or highlights, especially on social media. And there isn't enough discussed about the graft and the grind before you get to be successful, or the self-doubt, or the do I jack it all in moments, or the partner at home asking, when's the money going to be coming in? And this is the version that people need to hear. And you're juggling everything, and the danger that the juggling itself becomes the job, and you lose sight of what you're actually there to do, and knowing when is the right moment to delegate, especially if you don't have the financial backing. So what would you say is the moment most new entrepreneurs hit the wall, and what is it that keeps some going when others walk away?
It is literally year one. 6 to 8 months into it, all of a sudden, this shiny new penny becomes a dull, worn over, gone through the laundry several times penny, and individuals were like, oh my gosh, what has my life become? What has my family become? And then there's this gentleman on Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary. He made a comment one time about how this young man came to him, said, I don't know what to do. I've got this great company I've started here in college and it's making millions of dollars, but I have this girlfriend who really wants me to become her fiance and is telling me I need to slow down and I need to stop and I need to do this. And he said to him, you can't be both. You can be the entrepreneur or you can be the good husband. But in the beginning, you cannot be both of those. And it really made me think one time, and I'm very blessed. I've got a wife of 27 years now who understands and puts up and knows where activities are. And we talk about those things. When will I stop? When will I take off the suit and tie? And when will I become the stay-at-home hubby who's retired activity? And I love what I do. And so that first year, that's the make or break year for most entrepreneurs. And if you can get past that first year and you can understand, hey, I'm working 12-hour days, I'm putting the kids to bed and I'm coming back downstairs. There's a really good gentleman here in New York. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk. People know him as Gary V. I've been very blessed to be able to meet him a couple of times because his office is above SAP's office in New York City. And I just so happened I ran into him in an elevator one day, made reference and blah, blah, blah. And now I've got his phone number, which is pretty cool. But he makes a comment continuously. This is, just as you stated, it's not for everybody. If you're not willing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work before you go to the office, and then come home at 6 o'clock and then do whatever you do and then work again, so you've got your 9 to 5 and your 5 to 9, are you willing to do those? And it comes down pretty quickly in that first year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've seen others who are very good friends of mine, literally, they're like, oh, I didn't think this was going to happen. I didn't think that was going to happen. I'm like, well, you need to make some rational decisions because you've got a family.
Yeah.
Do it before you get a family.
Yeah. And yet, despite all that, people are still drawn to entrepreneurship. So let's talk a minute about what's changed, because with the ability to innovate and start something definitely feels much more accessible now than ever. And people can build, create, automate, and test ideas at a speed that simply wasn't possible before.
Well, that's a great thing.
Yeah,
that's a great thing right there.
Yeah. And from your experiences, what do you think is genuinely an opportunity or exciting about this?
Well, I think everything about AI is exciting to a certain degree because you can fail fast. It's always been one of my taglines. Start something, do it, fail fast, learn from it, do it again. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. I've done that throughout my career. Sometimes I've failed and I've failed slowly and I didn't know it. But at the end of the day, it's interesting. I'm on this big screen, is iMac that's over here. And I have on here my anti-gravity, my Google Gemini, all my Google AI suite is on this computer in front of me. And I spent 2 days just building out an HR device. I had a friend that literally I was talking to at a restaurant and we were just joking. He was at a bar. And so I decided to come up and sit with him and eat. He was talking about hiring and firing people and going through the hiring process and how brutal it was because you can't do this because of FRCH and these. I said, well, what if you had the ability, you could go into that first meeting with a person, either on camera or in person, and you literally said to them, hey, I really like where this is going. Why don't you sign this document so I can do a background check immediately and start our process? We would like to have deeper conversations rather than waiting days and days and days and weeks and going through this whole blown out process that takes up time and money for both sides. Yeah. Well, that would be great, but there's illegalities. And I said, oh, hold on. So I built an AI tool, and this AI tool allowed him to say, you know what? I like this conversation. Let's go to the next level. Could you fill out this link? And fill out the link, name, address, phone number, social security number. They sign it, they connect, and it does literally 4 things. It validates they're a real human person. It validates that they have no criminal record. It validates, and it just had 4 things. And then it would go off and do the rest while you're going through that interview process that day. Yeah. And there's nothing on the market that allows somebody to do that. And he's like, well, that would just save tons of time. It would save my staff. And that's what the power of AI can do. We thought about it. We took it to my Google Gemini. Literally, it's funny. I have the Google Gemini chat that we were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on. And I just took that and moved it into anti-gravity. And literally within an hour and a half to 2 hours of us sitting there at a bar, we had it fully designed and ready to be played with. I had to bring it back here and modify it and clean it and do some other stuff with it. And now it's a fully fledged tool that he's going to take a look at and see if that's something that his company can actually do. I didn't think of it. He did. And it works.
It's amazing. The potential is sort of mind-boggling, isn't it? But where do people need to be careful? Not because AI is bad, but because I guess easier access doesn't always mean someone's ready to build a business.
Oh, very true. Just because you build an app doesn't mean you're ready for a business on it. But you can build an app and throw it up into the Apple store, or you can throw it in the Android store, or even build a website on Lovable and download it from there. But there's so much more that goes in behind it. You've got to deal with the legalities, trademarking. You got to set up a bank accounts, your LLCs, all these different items that have to be done in order for you to have a business. And it's funny, people don't realize you actually have to incorporate in one way, shape, or form. You can't sell that as, hi, I'm Chris Carter, and this is my company, Chris Carter. No. The federal governments and all these governments around the world want their dollars and cents. They also want to make sure that you're a viable entity.
Yeah.
Banks will not give you bank accounts unless you are who you say you are and what you are. And they're going to ask for your EIN numbers. So it's all those different things. So when I speak to these universities and I talk to young people and I say, okay, well, if you want to do this, I would highly recommend go out to YouTube and do, I want to start a company. What are the steps I need to take? Now, I would either do that in my Google Gemini and then ask where I can get videos on YouTube. But there again is another use of AI. But it's interesting. And I'm going to go on a quick little 5-second tangent. Use your AI tool as if it's your best friend. Have a conversation like we're having.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gentleman out there, his name is Jeff Wolf. He wrote a phenomenal book that's out there. And I didn't want to use that one because so many people know about Jeff Wolf. Geoff Wolf. Go and use your tool and ask it to ask you questions to help it get better.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask your AI tool questions and it asks you questions that you must answer, honestly, you are going to be so much better with it and it's going to help you. And so that's where I ask these individuals, I don't care if you're a young adult, old adult, middle, whatever, go out there and use your tool to get the knowledge to be able to get that entrepreneurial experience and knowledge.
Yeah, I think that's definitely valid. Thank you for sharing that. I also think, and this is where history is something really useful to say, because both you and I have been here before in a different way, in a different sort of boom. When we spoke before, I said this moment in time with AI reminds me of the boom and bust of the e-commerce era, where suddenly everyone could go online and set something up. But that did not mean that they had a viable business. And we saw what happened, didn't we? Does any of what's happening now strike a chord with you about AI or what people need to consider?
Oh, absolutely. There was just an article that was in either Forbes or one of the, and I don't want to name names, but one of the articles, and it was talking about how the AI revolution is already over. And I thought, well, wait a second here. This is definitely e-commerce. And then it made me think about our discussions this morning, because that's exactly what happened. All of a sudden, one day, boom, everything fell to the floor. And they're saying now that AI is starting to lose what we created as humans as data points. And now it's starting to come up with its own synthetic data. And I thought, well, wait a second here. That would just crush everything that we're doing, because we don't want fake data in any way, shape, or form wrapped around anything. Yeah. And so I'm starting to look at this and I'm starting to wonder, what did we do? How did we get here? What is it? Because I built a security tool for just these types of things. I don't want fake data in my decision making. And it's interesting that it's e-commerce 2.0.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what evolves, won't it? And I also think that certainly some of the things that I saw in the past, I've seen people dive in, and young people now will have lots of opportunity to be entrepreneurs because of the easy access. They might not necessarily have the experience. And I think what happens is you can dive in, but if you don't have that critical thinking, if you don't have that business strategy or what you bring, that really can separate the wheat from the chaff. And
that's a great point. That is an absolute great point. And I've talked to this at universities. Individuals need to level themselves up. You can no longer start at the very base bottom level that you came out of university with, or you have to be a bigger, better, stronger human, because you have to level yourself up, because now you're using the tools and now you're integrating yourself. The human gets integrated with these AIs. And so your point is 100% exactly on track. What these individuals who want to use AI and want to grow and be entrepreneurs need to do, they need to level themselves up.
Yeah. Does judgment become more important if AI can give more information and more output? What do you feel will happen to human judgment in all of this?
Well, that's the infinity loop of AI and humans. You will always have that infinity loop. And it's interesting. I was just talking with somebody yesterday that part of an organization, well, what are we going to do? And, we're just going to get rid of these people and we're going to do this. I said, no. You are an infinity loop. The human starts the process. It interacts and integrates with the AI solution. And when AI spits out an answer, it is contingent upon you to make sure that it is the right answer. It's the same thing it's funny, I have my neighbor here is a teacher in the middle school in Wisconsin here, and they do not allow AI. They don't want AI. And I continuously tell her, no, put it in, because right now AI is the Encyclopedia Britannica of when I was a kid. I used to have those 26 books up on my wall in my dad's office, and I would go in and I would pull one. I'm studying this today, but that was all I had. And then I maybe had the Dewey Decimal System, and I had that. In young people listening to this right now, Dewey Decimal System? Well, that's what the library had before they put everything on a computer. And I tell her all the time, you need to make sure as the teacher and as the educator, you put these people in the infinity loop of the human AI knowledge structure. Because the human's going to start with, I want to learn about the T-Rex. When was it? When it first came onto the planet? When did it die? How did it live? Give me information on T-Rex. Let the AI get into its information, and then you need to validate all that. So you're not just going to take it and plop it in a paper. You really have to be ingrained and integrated with your AI. And I think that's the power. That is when you and your AI work together, that's the power of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I think having that critical thinking is very important, because there are quite a few errors. That's something that hasn't been able to be addressed properly yet, the hallucinations. So there has to be that constant sense checking of, is this based on evidence? Where's the evidence from? Where's the source of that evidence? And I think this is what experience actually gives you as well. And I think that side of things is sometimes quite hard to teach. But going on to a bit more of that, you've had such a varied journey across so many industries and continents. And I know from what you've shared today and what we spoke about earlier, that it hasn't always been plain sailing. And when is it ever in entrepreneurship?
No,
what do you think that experience of overcoming the harder chapters, shall we say, gives an entrepreneur that you simply can't learn from AI or a book?
Well, it teaches you failure. And failure is a good thing, because nobody ever wins 100% of the time. And I sure have tried, but I have failed. I go by a quote that is a very old quote. This too shall pass. If you get up too high, that's going to pass, and you're going to start falling down that ladder of success. You get down to that bottom rung of that ladder, and you're starting to work your way up. This too shall pass. The low level, you're going to get back up high. And I've been giving speeches, and I talk in my book about how, as a young kid, my parents divorced, and I ended up being a couch surfer for a year with my brother and my mother, because she just couldn't handle life. And I started off surfing 11 different couches as a very young, I was 6 years old at the time. And from that point, I could have just said, you know what, I'm going to be a part of the system. As I got older, I could have said, you know what, I'm not going to be. No, I had a different vibe. I had a different conscience. I had a different heart. I had a different mind. And that's what entrepreneurs need to look at. No matter what your lot in life is, where you start, there's always a future that you create. Nobody else is going to create a future for you. Nobody's going to hand you the winning lottery ticket and say, here you go. There's your $1 billion ticket. Go for it. Or here's your $1 million. No, you need to learn. You need to have a conscience and a heart, and you need to be able to understand you're the one that makes it happen. And that's why being an entrepreneur is so much in my blood, because I went from couch surfing to now living in a beautiful 5-bedroom house with my wife and 1 dog.
It's wonderful, isn't it, when you see the journey? And is there something in addition to that drive, obviously from the age of 6, is there something you went through earlier in your career that you now look back on and think, actually, you know, that was one of the most important lessons or things that happened to me?
Yes. Oh, definitely. And I talk about this all the time. Is my company failed. I had a company that literally I had probably 80% of all of my sales and revenue in one company. It was Siemens Global. And I've told this to the new executives and people. I said, you guys made me lose my company, but I learned so much from it. I had 80% of my revenue in it. And they came to us literally 2 weeks before the end of the year and said, you need to cut by 90% your cost to us, or we're sending all of the people to India and we're going to start using an Indian team. It was 2 weeks before the end of the year, 2 weeks before new contracts, 2 weeks, everything. And there was anything and everything we were trying to do 24 hours a day. And I ended up having to close that company down because they moved everything offshore and they let go of all of my staff. And it was horrible.
Yeah.
And I still wear that emotion on my sleeve. It was one of the most painful times in my life. My emotions were horrible. I didn't take it very well, but I learned a lot through that experience. A, don't trust anybody. B, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And C, make sure you're always planning and plotting for the future. And as an entrepreneur, I kept moving forward, started again, evolved. Then I decided to leave the world for a while and just kind of work for somebody else. And that didn't last too long. 2 years of somebody else telling me what to do and how to do it was fine in everything. And I followed directions and I did what they asked me to do. But at the end of the day, it was like, yeah, I'm coming back. I'm doing what I know best. And so, that really changed me.
Yeah, I can imagine. But yet at the same time, being an entrepreneur was in your blood. And thinking about, you were saying you should never trust anyone. What do you think a founder should still never hand over when they outsource to AI?
They should never outsource what they are in their core of their company. You can use QuickBooks or whatever tool with AI. You can use your marketing with AI, but never give up the final approvals with AI. AI should be there to help you and build you and guide you, but that final yes, no, move forward strategy, that is all on you. Make sure that it is designed with what you want, no matter if it's in the finance world, if it's a contract world, the legal world, anything that you're working on. You as the owner, you have to make the final decision, or you've designated that to a chief operating officer or to a CFO. But you've got to have eyes on the prize to understand what those changes and what's going to happen with your organization. Yeah. And never give that up to a machine learning tool.
Yeah, 100%. It's also a fail safe so that things don't suddenly go awry, shall we say.
Yes. Yes.
And my thought is there's also something potentially concerning about the AI wave, in my opinion. And it's not necessarily about the technology. It's what can happen to people's sense of self inside it. When information is everywhere and anyone can produce anything, identity and judgment become the differentiators. And the question then is not what can AI do for me? It is, who am I when the tools are doing more of the work? And how am I going to add value or make it work for me or with me? So I think that really links to something I find comes up a lot with people that I work with, because when you're building something and the pace is relentless, knowing what you stand for is one thing, but actually staying clear enough to act on it is another thing entirely. And I work with people a lot around confidence and self-leadership. And one thing I notice is that having more options can sometimes make people less clear, not more. And AI gives you more options, more speed, more output. From your experience, what helps an entrepreneur stay clear and make good decisions when they've got lots coming in from all sides at them?
That's a great question. And your preface before that is 100% on point. Just because you have more ability and more knowledge coming at you doesn't mean that you should change your ethics. You should change who you are as an entrepreneur. You can gain knowledge. I gain knowledge every single day with the things that I do, the people I interact with, and the activities, including my AI tools and bots. But at the end of the day, it's what's up here and it's what's in here that does not change me. I still have my emotions on my sleeve when it comes to my staff, my customers, my partners, and activities wrapped around that. But at the end of the day, if you keep your moral high ground and you're always willing to do what you feel is best for you to the company, don't give that up to any type of machine learning tool and AI tool, and you'll see much better success. Keep learning, keep growing, keep being that person. We have a library here in my lower man cave, I call it. We've got several thousand books. I tell people all the time, pick one up, read something, read a chapter, understand what Thoreau is thinking about, or understand what Einstein was thinking about, or we're going to talk about what book I'm reading these days later on. Getting that knowledge And I'm a huge audiobook guy. So I do things and I listen at the same time. And I think those are just powerful because we as humans need to continuously get knowledge and
Yeah,
learn, or
yeah,
we become a bump on a log.
absolutely. And from your experience, what helps an entrepreneur stay clear and make good decisions when they're juggling an awful lot?
Well, a lot of whiskey, bourbon. That's just me. Or some great coffee in the morning. What keeps us clear and sense we have a purpose as entrepreneurs. We
Yeah,
have a dream. We have a go forward strategy. We built these companies and we're building these companies because we have a passion and we have a vision. Keep to your vision, keep to your structure, keep to where you want to go and what you want to do. You can tweak, and sometimes you have to take a right turn or a left turn and activities around those. But that's because you're making those turns. Don't let a device, don't let a structure, don't let some tool do that on you. That's why building up knowledge and growing knowledge and being part of a growing knowledge base as a human with our brain is so important, because we're going to learn little things. We're going, I wonder if we can integrate that. And
yeah,
I built a security tool. And I was like, I could integrate that into our AI stack and how we use for monitoring our SAP or cloud. Let me see if I can do that. And
yeah,
so now we added that to it. I
yeah.
added, and don't let something else take away your vision and your passion and your drive.
Yeah, 100%. I love how you said that. Pattern I see a lot is that people get so caught up in a doing, they lose sight of what they're brilliant at. And the juggling then becomes almost like the default mode where they're caught up in that inside the business rather than taking that step back. And the longer you're in that place, the harder it is to step back and ask, what is the thing that only I bring or I can do here? And underneath that, I think there is a confidence piece, because honing in on your zone of genius, so to speak, requires real self-belief. And you
Yes.
have to be willing to say, this is what I am for, and let go of the rest and just go for it. And that sort of links in what we were saying about the mindset earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. You've mentioned that many people start or restart later than they expected, and that there's still so much time. Do you think experience gives entrepreneurs a different kind of advantage in the AI era?
Oh, it really does, because we have succeeded and failed. And
Mm,
so our success and our failures lead us to be able to ask different questions, to be able to guide the tool to ask different questions. We've been able to do those things. And
mm,
so when we ask Gemini and we ask ChatGPT, we're coming at it from a place of knowledge already. And
yeah,
now we're asking it to tweak our knowledge and to help guide us and to up our game, becoming that bigger, better, faster, stronger human being. And that's why we become successful. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was when we were talking where I talked with someone else. Look at Colonel Sanders, was his 60s when he created KFC. Look at Sam Walton. He was in his 50s when he got the Wall Sam's Clubs and all that stuff. You look at some of these entrepreneurs and they've succeeded and failed. And that knowledge, now we dump that into an AI repository. Hey guys, I failed at this, 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 and this. Please help me to understand what I was doing, why I shouldn't have been doing that. And then take that information. Failure is a knowledge base for everybody.
yeah,
And that's why I made the comments earlier. Fail fast, learn from it, use it, and go to the next level with it.
yeah. 100%. Yeah, I think we did have that conversation earlier, because I was talking about the stats that I'd read outside retail. The majority of entrepreneurs are aged 40 to 50 when they start. And they've got all this wonderful life experience to add value to it all. And with all that experience in all of those chapters, it doesn't come without a cost, does it? You
Mm.
touched on that earlier about things working or not working, but there's also behind the scenes. And I think it's something that people rarely talk about openly. And you've carried enormous responsibility as a CEO, and you've also had very human things happening in the background at the same time: family, health, everything else. What would you say, if it's not too personal question, what would you say it's taught you about entrepreneurs, what they need behind the scenes, not just in public?
Yeah, so that's a great point. I'll make reference. 8 years ago, I broke my neck. I got this really lovely scar that I play with all the time because it just is what it is. And I found out really quickly that being an entrepreneur meant I needed a backbone. I
Mm,
needed a strong partner I needed strong people around me. I needed strong activities at the office. I was stuck literally laying in a hospital bed, bed at home, or in a couch that I could not move my head for some period of time. And I found out very quickly the people that would help me and would step up for me and to help me with those activities. And it starts with the people you can trust. And if you find out that you can't trust them, go away, find the person you can trust. You need to have those people in your company and in your life. Don't think that one is better than the other. Because for me, having a strong partner in my wife meant the world for me. That woman would literally, I would dictate things to her and it would go off in emails. She would help me with just getting up and sitting up. Then my staff, I've got a COO and a CIO who I trust explicitly that literally was running day-to-day operations and activities for me. And I would be on calls, literally laying on my back with my phone over my head. And we would work together on the things that need to happen. I would come up with a brainstorm and I would just text them off. So make sure you've got the people around you that you can trust, but it really does start with your home front. And if you don't have a partner, rely on your parents. Talk to your parents. I talk to my father every week. And from a business standpoint, I talk to him. From a personal standpoint, those are the people that, and he gives me business ideas. And I'm like, hey, that's a great idea, Dad. I like that. Where did you guys do that? And he'll tell me. And then he gets to telling stories. And all dads love to tell stories. So if you've got a dad or a mom that's a little bit more mature, they love to tell stories about their past lives. Let them tell stories and activities and what it is and why it is, because that could help you, because that was failure and success for them. And you can take that forward as well.
Yeah. So it's surrounding yourself with the right people. It's also being in the right rooms where you're able to progress and be yourself and have people around you who actually understand the ideas or the vision that you might have, rather than not quite being there yet. And there's something else.
They may not know they may not care about your vision.
No.
You know, my wife is constantly like, she always says, look, this is your passion and your vision. I'm here to support you. And they don't have to have the full picture and all the colors of what my vision is, but they support me. And that's important. When you've got people that support you, pat you on the back, lift you up to help you.
Yeah.
It
keeps you going through those hard times, doesn't it? And there's something else I notice working with high performers, that the higher the drive, the easier it is to ignore some of the signals your body is giving you. You mentioned your health, and in a different way, the body will tell you when you're stressed or when you're run down. And I don't think they ignore it because they don't care about themselves. It's because they care so much about everything else that they become secondary. And I think when things are hard, it's really helpful to go back to your why. Why are you doing this? What are you good at? And what have you always been good at? Then having perspective when it is, if you are going through a tough time, this is just one moment in time. It will pass, as you said. And then you can ask yourself honestly, what do I really need right now? Do I need external expertise? Do I need to give myself a kick up the bum? Do I need a few hours to feed my soul and let my brain problem solve subconsciously? Do I need to exercise? And I think that self-awareness or self-diagnosis is really, really important when things are difficult. So for someone listening right now who is excited by AI and thinking maybe now is the time to start something, what would you ask them to think about first?
Well, first, think about what you want to do. What is it? Come up with ideas and just talk to your AI about it. Hey, is there a company out there in the world that is already doing this? What are they successful at? What are they not successful at? Talk to your Gemini or your ChatGPT as if we're talking to each other.
Yeah.
I have talked to my Gemini several times, and it literally gave me information. And I went out and I did the research with my Gemini, and I thought, oh, okay, somebody's already had that idea. I never knew. And then I went out and I found the tool, and well, one of them was really bad and one of them was really, really good. And I thought, is there anything we could do? So talk to those two. Know what you're going to get into. If you decide that this is going to be a company and you truly are entrepreneurial and you want to be an entrepreneur, just know nothing kicks off fast and you do not become a millionaire overnight. That is a lottery ticket. And that you have to pay £1 or $1, depending upon what country you're in. That doesn't happen. But at the end of the day, you also need to look in the mirror very carefully, and you need to say, in my case, Chris, this is going to be a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of away, a lot of movements, a lot of this. Do you really want to put that amount of time into what you've got going on? And kind of list out what you've got going on in your life right now. If you're about to get married, or you're about to have a child, and you're about to do, I want to become an entrepreneur. Now, I made my first mistake when I built my first company. My wife and I just got married, and we were about to have a baby in July of that year. So we ended up getting married, having the baby, starting a new company, all within 12 months. And looking back at that, I can see why my wife once had me pull out all my hair.
I was going to say that's quite a lot in one go. And
Yeah.
as we've discussed a lot today, times are changing and the landscape is changing a lot. What does the entrepreneur of the next decade need, would you say, that the entrepreneur, if I can say the word, of the last decade didn't?
Oh, you need the knowledge of speed is something I would say. You need to be able to understand, gravitate to, and use these AI tools in a very fast manner. You need to, as I say, fail fast, but you need to understand you are failing and get on to the next piece. Fail, stop it, go on to the next phase. If it's an evolution of the tool or an evolution of you or whatever the case may be, you need to understand speed is of the essence these days. There are so many companies that are building with AI. And shoot, there's AI companies that have been around for years now that have disappeared. They're gone because something else is coming and taking its place. We used to have Wix and Web something other. Now we've got Lovable, and people are building websites like that. Hell, I build websites all the time on Lovable. So it's one of those things where people need to understand, okay, it's not what we say think it's going to be or how it's going to be. Let's scrap that. Let's take that information and let's pivot. It's the old friends mentality, pivot. And now you're pivoting with some other tool, other something, and going from there.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, because we're sort of running out of time, I think I would love to end somewhere a bit more personal, if that's okay. After everything that you've built and everything you've been through, what do you trust now that you didn't trust earlier in your career?
What do I trust? I trust that this will make the right decision for the company. I trust that the tools that we use, I can use back and forth, and all of my team can use these tools and be the human in the infinity loop for a trust factor for be it technology, sales and marketing, our coding structure, what I'm going to do for my activities and writing and so on. And then at the end of the day, I ultimately and intimately trust my wife 100% to help me if something happens with whatever decision I need to make in my personal life, as well as asking her questions and comments, thoughts, and concerns about my professional life as we move forward. So trust is earned. It's never given. And in those regards, I build up the trust factor with all three of those.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. And I always ask my guests this. If you could recommend any book to read, what would it be and why?
So, new book that came out. It's called Coming of Age, How Technology and Entrepreneurship Are Changing the Face of MENA. And so Nora Swade, I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Yeah. She's part of the global ventures of the UAV-based capital firm. This is really an impressive book. Well, first of all, she's got all these executives that gave her backgrounds from Reid Hoffman to Tony Fadell to Annie Glover and so on. But it really talks about decades of conversations and captivating the journey and how you can explore what's going on in today's group. So I'll put it a little bit more in front of the camera. Fantastic book. I highly recommend it. The entrepreneurial growth just of the Middle East and North Africa alone is phenomenal. And they're starting to outpace the United States. And so I thought that this was a fantastic book to read, and it hasn't steered me wrong.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here. Where can people follow your work and find you?
Oh, thank you. Two places I say to go to. First, find me on LinkedIn. if you find me on LinkedIn and you say you heard and watched the podcast, let's get a coffee or a bourbon together, because I travel the globe and I love those too. And second of all, you can find me on my own personal website, which is christophermcarter.com, and either one of those two, and connect with me. And I love meeting people. So I meet hundreds of new people every week that I speak with or am traveling for. So please do.
Wonderful. And next time you're in London, we'll have to meet up in person as well.
I am planning on it. I'm actually flying in. I've got to go to see I'm a minority owner of the Carrick Rangers in Belfast, Ireland. So I'm going to fly into London for a few days. So we will definitely have a coffee together.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris, for joining me today and for being so open. One of the things I think about is what Chris called the infinity loop. AI gives you more information, but it's up to you to check it and decide what to do with it without losing what makes you you. Now that sounds obvious, but it's harder in practice, especially when a lot of things are coming at you from all directions. More options really make people clearer. What keeps people clear or steady is knowing what they stand for and the calls which are theirs alone. You can find Chris on LinkedIn or at christophermcarter.com. And if you'd like more clarity around decision-making, your own performance, transition, and identifying what makes you you, do get in touch for a free consultation for my coaching program. I take few clients at a time, so my availability changes constantly. Until next time, thank you for listening.